Good evening. My name's Wayne, because I think it's the best thing of its kind that's come along. I hope you'll agree with it. It's honest, it's adult, it's realistic. Set a code of laws to live by. I won't be wronged, I won't be insulted, I won't be laid a hand on. I don't do these things to other people. I require the same from them.
Double video.
Double video's good.
Where are we at?
We're at Trailhead. I'm
Jmack says
excited.
he's excited.
Very excited. We've got 11 miles on this leg, and keep in mind that he drove about 10 hours today, and I worked about 10 hours today, so
We're already tired.
we're doing it too. It's going to be a good way to start the adventure.
We're just happy to get out of Tahoe. That was busy.
It was busy.
But that's the marker right there. And that's an excited Jmack. The very smiley Jmack.
It's on.
Okay.
165 miles to go.
Next time you see us, we'll be a lot tireder and probably drinking whiskey. Out. What she's. Okay, I had to repeat this. And that's Jmack. Happy as shit. He finally gets a trail. And what a gorgeous view. And yeah, I'm fucking old.
To feel her wind blow across my face, I wanted to see her beautiful northern lights. I wanted to know if there was a reason to
Good morning. Be hike 3 for us. Going to Mount Rose Campground. Just packed up everything, and I'm sure I'll deposit some pictures in here later.
Bitch.
Whoa. He's still alive.
Barely.
Moving like a little bitch, but he's still alive.
But I'm still moving.
And then we got this badass view last night. That was just epic. So at any rate, we're gonna get moving. We got 13 miles. Bust it off real quick, and then our mileage is gonna start increasing as we go down the quote-unquote easier sections. We'll see. Guys and gals, according to my GPS, there is no sign because they're not very nice that way, but I knew that ahead of time. We are in Nevada, so we're not in California anymore. Never walked across it before. It's quite interesting. You got anything to say about it?
It fucking hurts.
One foot in front of the other.
What she shares. Breathe the Arctic air.
Just finished the first leg, and we're on to the second, which is, what is this one called? Mount Rose.
Rockway to Mount Rose. Rockway Summit to Mount Rose.
That's where we're at. First day sucked balls. Second day was okay-ish for the trail-wise. We were doing okay. We didn't have enough water.
Yeah.
That sucked. Trail was all panned out from bikers on it, so your feet were always at angles, or you in a rock bed, kind of like a creek bed kind of thing. So that kind of was a pain in the ass. But trails seem to get better now. Hoping they're better on the way up. So talk to you later. Fuck off. Oh God, it hurts so bad. Hey guys, what's up? We're just doing one of the last hills.
We were just saying that we never show when we're actually working hard at this, and
Damn.
dude, we got up and down 1,000, 2,000 feet like 3 times a day. It's like, I'm not complaining, it's fun, but wow.
So we've been running short on water, so
Water.
we're each carrying 7?
No, I've got, you've got 6 and I've got 5.
liters of water.
Yep, and we had to do that all day. There's no water. We had to take it out of the mud bottle.
You know how heavy water is?
It's heavy. 8.5 pounds per gallon. I know, we did liters. That's for all our friends out there.
Yeah. We're still humping it though.
We're doing it. We're actually going to get into camp at a decent hour and try to get a good night's sleep. And then we'll see what we can do, because tomorrow...
We just stopped at this epic spot. Just a beautiful mellow meadow. A bunch of flowers.
It's got slurred speech due to endorphins.
I got slurred speech because my ass has been kicked. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later.
First signs of snow. And one beautiful meadow. Pretty stellar. What do you got to say about it?
It's sexy. Her bed of ice. This cold Arctic mistress. Breathe the Arctic air.
surely. It is absolutely stunning.
Hey, Jmack grabbed my butt.
Here we go, it's starting.
To feel her wind blow across my face, I wanted to see her beautiful northern lights. I wanted to know if there was a reason to love a place so pure and so full of emptiness. Breathe the Arctic air. Breathe the Arctic air. I don't want to see end of her frozen world. She shows me the snow.
There's a McNary in the wild.
And glaciers that melt into tears. She calls me at home. And lays like the beauty of
Might be snowing around, but it's about 90 degrees. A lot of the times up here.
ice. This cold Arctic mistress.
Tends to help immensely.
Feel what she shares.
Humongous snowbank. Some trails over there. Somewhere. Oh, you mean you fall on your ass? Got a couple photos of it.
Arctic air, feel what she shares. Breathe the Arctic air.
Fucking cold?
Fucking awesome.
Jesus.
Alright, that's enough of that shit, bud.
To feel her wind blow across my face, I wanted to see her beautiful northern lights. I wanted to know if there was a reason to love a place so pure and so full of emptiness.
When you get in the snow, you can't take the trail anymore. It drifts. We are trying to get over there. There's a road, but it's too steep over there, too steep right here. That's pretty steep. Still got a lot of snow. There's a Jmack. And that's where we came from. Up here and over there and around and down. We across a whole bunch of drifts just getting here. So stay tuned.
Chocolate chip peanut crunch.
And we came from up there because we couldn't get over. We did find it. So now we should be able to rock and roll. But, you know, knock on wood.
What she shares. Breathe the Arctic air.
Okay, before I start the review, because I just did the review and I forgot to say this. I told everybody I was going to tell you how I stayed warm when we got kind of stranded at that mountain lake for the night. I had no coat. I had one pair of thermal undies I had to sleep in. And that was about it. I had my bag, the small hammock. McNary actually has a lot of really good gear, so he had a down coat, he had down pants. I don't think he wore. So he was set up more for cold weather. I was looking at it knowing how cold I get, I was going to be in trouble, really bad. So I started thinking about, well, one of the things I always carry is my survival blanket, the SOL one, and I have a cheap one that's just the silver one that's stuffed in the same bag. It's like, so I got those two. I was like, okay, great. So what I did was I laid out the hammock, got it hung, put the SOL survival blanket in there, orange side down, put my bag in there, put my air thing in my bag, and then I took the two little clips I had to hang my socks off the back of my pack to dry when I was hiking. I took one, I clipped it on one side and clipped it on the other side so it'd hold it there. Got the silver one, put on the same clips, and then wrapped it under my hammock and all the way back around. Got in my bag, took the first SOL emergency blanket, folded it over my bag, then grabbed the silver one and brought it over so it was a little loose, and then clipped it 2 spots. And then McNary ended up giving me one of his clips so I could actually clip it in the center. So I'd have basically 2 environments covered with those blankets to help refract all the body heat I was doing and kind of do a weather barrier for wind. It worked tremendous. Number one, I got in that bag and with 5 minutes, I had to take the first clip off and unzip my bag because I was heating up so fast. I was like, I'm going to get sweaty. And it was dropping temperatures real quick. So after I cooled down, buttoned it back up, went to sleep. I woke up next morning warm and toasty, number one. Slept all the way through the night, but because of the one space blanket that was directly under my bag, all the condensation and stuff built up, and so the bottom of my bag was wet. So that was one thing I had to do, was knowing before we camped again, I had to get my bag dried, which didn't matter because at that point we ended up calling it that evening anyways and coming back home. But it did save my butt. It kept me from having a real miserable night, freezing my kazujas off, and it did work great. But if you get in a situation and you got to wrap yourself like that, just be in mind you will have condensation build up in the bottom. It wasn't bad, but it was damp. But that's how I actually did that whole night, is just had 2 space blankets, one under my bag and one under my hammock, and buttoned them up with a couple clips. So hope that helps. Now on to the gear review. Welcome back. You guys seen the video clips now? It was a blast. Had a lot of fun on the TRT. We only got up from Tahoe City up to Mount Rose and across before we had to call it. Total of, I think it was, we were figuring 41 miles, but that's probably a little short because we did so much bushwhacking in this trip. Just because it was the biggest snow load they've had in forever. So when we got up there, a couple guys kind of tried to warn us. It's like, there's going to be snow up there. Make sure you have good GPS, that sort of thing. When we got up there, it wasn't just snow on the trail to make it hard to find. It was like feet of snow on the trail, so you couldn't even take the trail anymore because it was just one big hillside. So we had to do a lot of bushwhacking, a lot to figure out how to do, where to go, that sort of thing. One of my main things I took away from the trail was I've been on some hiking trails. I am not a hiker. Keep that in mind. I'm a woodsman. I go out in the woods and screw off. But I have gone on a couple hiking trails doing my thing in Washington State, especially up here in Idaho. And most of the hiking trails I've been on are strictly hiking trails. I would not call this a strict hiking trail. I looked at it more of an exercise trail. Some of it wasn't too bad. The first part, I think it was like 6 miles. You went up, and I know they say 1 or 2% grade or something like that. But there is a lot of rocks where you're stepping up, which is, to be expected. but there's a lot of runners and a lot of cross-country bikers on this trail. So there's big parts of it that were just domed out, the whole trail. So you had this big pan you're trying to walk in, and the very bottom of it is decomposed granite, which you step on, and they're small. For the most part, they're pretty small, but they're jagged, so they actually lock together, and when you put weight on them, then they also move. There's that, and there was also another rock, I'm not sure what it was, but it was kind of like shale, but when you stepped on it, it sounded like ceramic or glass. Really flat, rock's about that big around, and it was like a roller skating rink. When you stepped on that stuff, the whole ground moved with you. So, to say the least, I have bad knees, and after the first 6 miles, I was a hurting curtain. It really tore up my legs just getting up to the first part. We actually walked in and called it when we found a creek, because another thing is there's crap for water on most of this trail. It was, I was pretty much walking stiff-legged because my knees were so bad. So we did a camp and took off from there and just worked through it. Some of the trails part wasn't that bad. Did have some good views off and on over Tahoe, the lake. Just pretty much you're picking up different viewpoints on it, and some of them were just gorgeous. But I wasn't that impressed by the trail at all for the most part. It wasn't marked all that great, as most people know. And it wasn't maintained what I would consider a hiking trail. We did meet a lot of bikers. One hiker that wasn't even going to go towards Mount Rose because he said, yeah, he heard there was snow. So he was going to town and then back around and hooking it. We wanted to stay on the trail. Another part of the trail that reminds me of an exercise trail is it takes the long way around the barn, if so to speak. I'm sure they did that for a grade for bikes going up and down it. But there was a couple of spots where I was going, Jesus, I just do a straight line and we cut off a mile. But we stayed on the trail. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast with Jason McNary. Fun guy to go camping and hiking with for sure. But he did have to put up with me going a little slow. As if you don't know, I'm disabled, permanently disabled, bad knees, bad back, all that kind of stuff. So he had to put up with some of my moans and groans and being a little slow off and on. So if you're looking at doing this trail, number one, plan on carrying a lot of water. I mean a lot of water. I'm pretty good about using a technique from both military and woodsmen. Use a technique where they don't drink water, they sip it. Just enough to get your mouth wet, and you do that constantly so you're not drinking down your water. So I was going through a little more than 2 liters a day most of the time. But if you're a guy that sweats a lot, or when you drink you want like a drink to be comfortable, because doing it the other way you are pretty much thirsty all the time, you need to take a lot, like 6 liters, 5 liters, something like that every day with you. If you don't know, if you haven't been out enough to know about your water situation, is like always, it sounds gross, but make sure you're peeing at least twice a day. And then you always want to observe your urine to see if it's dark, if it smells, and da-da-da. If it's pretty clear and that sort of thing, then you're doing the right thing. But be prepared for it. Water is a big issue. The trail maintenance is going to be a big issue. If you have any injuries, you want to keep that in mind. Get braces you can hike in. I have 2 braces for my knee and a brace for my elbow, but I can't hike in them because they rub, and I figured they'd be more problematic than not, so I just dealt with it. But I did want to go through some of the gear things I got and used, and turned out to be really good. So to start off, go through this, ENO Sub 7 hammock. This thing. Looking at my phone on my GoPro here. It's an ultralight hammock. The McNair family was kind enough to actually give me this hammock as a present to go on this trip, so I wouldn't have to carry my Hennessy hammock, which is a lot heavier. I mean, a lot heavier. I actually dropped like a pound, I think, or around there, switching from my Hennessy to this. It worked great for it. What it is, it's a very simple, light hammock. So you do have to be careful getting in it. It will want to sway or flip. But it did work great. I never fell on the ground or anything else. I felt secure in it. It actually kind of wraps around you most of the time when you're in it. So I really like that. I'm going to keep that one for like scouting trips and stuff like that. So I have a light hammock with me. And then the Nerda X-Frame lightweight sleeping pad. If you haven't seen these, it's a air pad that when you blow up, it's skeletonized. There's cutouts all over it. I got this on a recommendation of Jason McNary, and this thing has worked wonders. Due to my nerve damage, I get cold really easy. So I have a 0 degree bag that's from Outdoor Vitals, which I love, by the way. I would buy another one of those in a heartbeat. Great company, it seems like. They made a great product. And I'll go over the bag, too, as well. But throwing this thing in there, it went from, if it was semi-warm, you would roast your butt off in that bag because it's a 0 degree bag. You put this in there and it actually just mellows the temperature so it's comfortable whether it's kind of warm or cold. It's worked wonders in the hammock. I tell you what, because I didn't bring anything but this, my sleeping bag, and that hammock. And there was a couple of nights before we hit snow where it got a little chilly, and I only got chilled on my elbows, on my outer knees, wherever this thing was touching, which is kind of cool because at the bottom of my feet I got a mummy bag. It actually wraps around your feet a little bit when you get in it. And so my feet were never cold, which was awesome. So if you guys are looking for a pad, it's pretty darn light, easy to blow up. I use it a lot. Is this skeletonized air mattress thing? I did try a new insect repellent by Sawyer. It comes in a couple different sizes, but I got this little guy. Hopefully you can see it in the dark. This stuff actually worked really good. They said it was the same, or it works the same as DEET, but I haven't had any, I don't know of any comparisons, but it's non-toxic and it doesn't smell. And I did use some of McNary's DEET up there, and I could smell it like you always do. I use this stuff, and you can't. And it was really, I didn't see any difference between using the DEET and this stuff. It worked out really good. I plan on getting a whole bunch of this. I did get the other stuff that you spray on your bag and or your clothes and stuff. I think that's from Sawyer as well. I can't remember the name. Starts with a P. Sprayed all my boots down, my shirt, my bag, my hammock, all that kind of stuff, and it did seem to help. But if you stand where there's ants, the ants will still crawl up your boots even though you sprayed it. So I sprayed my hat as well, my straw hat, and I did notice when bugs would land on it, they would kind of move around and get right off. They weren't hanging on my white hat, which kind of surprised me. So it does work, but it's not a fix-all. I did have a bug net I used one night just to make sure I didn't get bugs in my face, because if you go on this trail, there's a lot of people who use this trail, which means they're probably urinating right next to the trail, and there's a lot of mosquitoes, there's a lot of flies, and mountain bees, stuff like that. So be prepared with your insect repellent crap, for sure. The one thing I did bring, which I always bring, is this little wet fire starting. Bought like 4 or 5 of those things. And when we got to the spot where we were going over snow, I don't know if you guys could actually see that in the bag. They're these little things, and you break them open. It's a white capsule, and it burns super hot, and you pretty much get a fire going, even if you have wet tinder. When we got to the point where we hit snow, and it was still warm, but I could tell that the lake was froze over. Lots of snow. We're in a valley, over 10,000 feet. And so I actually decided to just make a very small to get warmed up before night hit, as I was trying to figure out how to stay warm. So that was kind of because we were at that point, we didn't know where the trail was, we didn't know how to get off. We couldn't go back the way we came without a lot of heartache because we just dropped probably 700 feet off a ridge in snow that was pretty darn deep and icy and slushy and terrible. So it was kind of like trying to go back up that. We're risking injury. Going the other way, we're risking injury. It's like, where the hell we go? We had a problem with our GPS. It was more of not being familiar with it. Because Jason has a really good unit, but he usually doesn't use it as a mainstay to keep on trails. And so we had a little issue with it going line of sight instead of following the trail. So these worked wonders. Yeah, it was just like, I need heat now, just to make sure everything was good. They worked wonders as always. I did bring out my knife. I had to go through all my knives to figure out which one I was going to take. And so I went with my stable, I don't think you can get them anymore, California Mini Tattoo from Cold Steel. I bought it like 20 years ago. Thing is still rock solid, and I know all the knife guys out there are going to crap their pants, but I actually did use this batoned with a rock to get some wood. Worked as good as always, and there's hardly anything you can even see on it that I used it for. Great knife, stayed sharp. Love this thing, love it. I actually carried this in law enforcement as a boot knife. Never get rid of that. Okay, now let's talk about a piece of shit. When we were going on this trip, my wife made me up a whole bunch of pancakes for the morning so I could get up, throw a pot on my jet boil, make a pancake that is high protein and calories. And that was my main for the morning with a energy bar, or it's like the Costco energy bars. So instead of taking my cast iron, which I usually take, it's a little tiny mini cast iron, I bought the jet boil pan. Now this has a little plate that comes off the bottom of it, and then it has, on the bottom has the fins like the regular jet boil cup. This thing is a hunk of crap. I spent like 50 bucks on this, I think it was. It was not cheap. First time I used it, it stuck like mad. It was hard to keep the heat going out because jet boil runs so hot. It was useless. A cast would have done me so much better. I ended up making balls of dough and eating the dough. The pan, or the plate that's underneath it, I used it as a scoop to clear out. After we got back from TRT, we actually went up for a camping trip, and I had to clean out a fire pit, so I used that in my pick to scoop stuff out. If you want a plate, that was great. It's supposed to protect the little fin thing. When I used it on TRT, I didn't have oil or anything else, so I thought that might have been a problem, so I cleaned it up really, really well. We went camping. I put a whole bunch of butter in this thing. Slowly warmed it up on a bigger propane normal stove, thinking that way it's lower heat. It sure worked fine. Buttered the thing up, threw eggs in it, and they immediately stuck to the bottom of this thing like a rock. Do not get the jet boil pan. It sucks. It's not worth it. Don't waste your money. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm probably going to use it as something for out in the shop because it's useless. Hello. Oh, let's talk about my sleeping bag that I told you about. The Outdoor Vitals. This is the sleeping bag compressed. The 0 degree bag. Love it, love it, love it. I suggest it. I would buy another one. I think everybody should buy one because they're awesome. They're down. They puff out really good. The zipper works great for me. It's kind of a mummy bag, so it hugs. I love this thing. Then I also, for this trip, I got my big expenditure for this trip was this bag, the Outdoor Vitals backpack. It has this top piece, It's a cover that actually can come off, turn into a fanny pack. It has a built-in rain fly in the bottom. I love this bag. It's a little heavier than some of the backpacks for hiking. I'm not a hiker. I want a good bag. It was light that my family could use after I'm done with this trip, so I went with this one. Very durable. I actually fell backwards once into the granite rock and messed up my canteen that was sitting here. This thing took it like a champ. Didn't get a rip. Didn't get anything. I haven't had any of the buckles come undone. Chest strap works great. I have tons of adjustments, which works great because I did what I usually do with my hunting pack, which I adjusted up. I wear a Columbia Gut and Glory shirt that's vented through the bottom like a fly fishing shirt, but it's also vented in the sides. And I adjust it so it's snug here, and there's a little bit of a gap there, and then this comes over my shoulders, so air can come through that vent and actually cool my back. My back was never sweaty. It worked awesome. Love this thing for sure. I wish these pouches were a little bigger, but that's the only thing I say about it. Really, the one thing that I did notice is these buckles. You have to play with it because after a while they'll ride right on your pelvis bone and start getting sore, so you have to make sure you got it just the right height. But yeah, it worked really good. Love this with backpack. The fact that I have chronic back pain because when I got electrocuted, I fried a section of my spine. I was worried that if I don't have the right pack, my back screams, and I knew it was going to scream anyways. This thing helped tremendously. So if you have a bad back, I would suggest this one. One of the best packs for my back that I've had. For a canteen, I got a new canteen because I couldn't find my old one. I lost it somewhere. The one thing to remember is these new canteens, they're plastic. They're not metal on the inside. So the purpose of the felt is so when the metal gets cold or starts heating up from the sun, it sweats, which soaks the felt, which wind and then uses it like air conditioner and keeps your water cold. With the plastic internals, it doesn't keep your water cold like the old ones did back in the day. Just so you know, this did fall with me, like I said, and so I did rip that. I did ding the shit out of it, but this was super nice to have when we were carrying water because I just strung it over my shoulder half the time and could just drink right out of this. I would take one of these more than a bladder. I hate bladders. I've used them before. Don't like them. I'd rather have something like this where I can toss around. I can carry it easy, poop easy. And it's it doesn't rip. That sort of thing. And then, what everyone was talking about on my post with my feet, saying, I had a couple hikers saying, well, you should have wore Keens or another size or blah, blah, blah. I'm not a hiker. Footwear is very personal to me. People love certain things. I went with Danner because I love Danner. These boots were awesome. I did not break these fully in when I left, number one. Now, the picture of the blisters on my little toes, I get those no matter where I go, broken in or not, just because my little toes actually curl in a little bit, so they get pinched off. I always get blisters on there. So it was a surprise I was going to get blisters from that. These are awesome because these actually have the standard eye holes for your laces. In between each one, there's a fabric wrap. I don't know if everybody will see this. That the lace goes through, which basically acts like an anchor. So you can tighten this up, have this loose, tighten this up, have this loose, what have you. They worked awesome. The only reason I got my toes where they're red across the top and the one blister on my pad, which went away, it was a little one, is because when we were kicking through the side of the hill into ice and snow, I cinched my toe all the way down and then had this loose a little bit and then this tight. So my main heel or my toes and my heel wouldn't slip. And then I had this loose just so I got a circulation through my foot, which worked wonders. When we got all the way down across the road and then found more snow, and then we called it and started hiking down, like I think it was like 7 miles or some god-awful amount to town on the highway, I didn't loosen my toes up. I didn't retie, which I should have, and I didn't. And walking on pavement with my toes that scrunched is what screwed my feet. So it wasn't the boots, guys. It was me being a dumbass. The one nice thing about these, I only brought this pair of boots. I didn't bring a secondary pair of shoes like McNary brought 2 pairs of shoes, crimp-ons, all that kind of stuff. Guess most hikers do. With these, my feet never got wet. Even through the snow, the water, everything else, my feet never got wet. And I didn't have to use crimp-ons because of the traction on these things actually let me grab. So I think even though these are probably a little bit heavier than hiking shoes, it's one pair that I use for the whole thing and it worked awesome. I would take these again in a heartbeat. These are TFX-8s, I believe they're. Is there a model thing in there? Desert TFX G3 8-inch tan GTX. I think the model number is 24307. They are wonderful. That's not going to come out. Anywho, looking good at hiking boots. Highly recommended. I'll probably be using these for especially my mountain trekking for scouting. I usually use my boots for most of my stuff, my cowboy boots, but climbing mountains is nice to have traction, so I'll probably be using those. The last thing I got for you is another purchase that I did, because most of you guys I have balance issues. So I always walk with a cane. And my cane, or my walking stick, is really heavy. So McNary suggested I get black diamond trekking poles. And I have no idea what model these are. These are the aluminum ones. Trail flintlock. These things actually worked really good. I was really heaving on them, especially when my knees started trying to get water on them and trying to pop out and stuff. I was really ranking down. I actually got blisters on the backside of this hand from having it through the strap, pushing down on it. So I just kept on moving this around. Worked perfect. But these worked great. They slipped once through the whole thing, and that was it. I was actually pretty impressed with these. They actually held up really good. So I would highly also recommend the Black Diamond trekking poles. I think I got these on Amazon, I think. But, yeah. Very, very good. So, there you go. That's my 2 cents from a non-hiker. It was interesting. It was very interesting. But, yeah. Probably going to go down and do it once a year with McNary just so he has somebody to hike with. But besides that, I think I'm going to stick with my outdoor stuff. So just once a year you'll get something like this. The rest of the time it's just me out playing in the woods. So there you go. I hope the gear review helped. Remember, jet boil pan, don't buy. It's a piece of shit. Everything else, extremely cool. Hope you had a good one. Hope you enjoyed. Sorry it's so long. Catch you later.